Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Beatsmith music.
What's going on? What's going on, Raider Nation? I'm back, man. It's been a minute. It's been a long time since I went live on my channel, but I was on Raider Ray's channel the other week, so make sure to subscribe. But what's good, Raider Nation, man? Hey, man, I'm excited to talk some Raider football. I know we just came off a loss, and it sucks, but we got some good things to talk about today. And before I introduce my co-host, let me get into the chat real quick. Daniel Kim, he says, let's go Silver and attack with Raider Ray and Pharaoh NFL. Was good. Daniel, appreciate you coming through. Austin Martinez says, I am joining late, fellas. Save me a seat. I'll be back for sure, man. We'll be here. We'll be talking football. Gord Peterson says, I need therapy to do my. Hey, man, I feel you, man. I haven't talked football since Monday, so we're gonna be talking. We're gonna be talking a lot about football today. Sean Johnson says, hello, Pharaoh, Raider Ray. What's good, man? Appreciate you pulling up. And I think Raider Ray did. I think he won a prize, man. Hey, congratulations, by the way. Daniel Kim says, salute, fellas. Raiders rundown with Fair NFL and Raider Ray, maybe. Ooh, but you know what? I think the rundown is kind of taken, but that sounds like a cool. Hey, man, I like that. I like that. But I think that name might be taken. And I like to be original, but I appreciate the idea right there. B. Al says the rage is gone, but the headache remains as chronic Raider. Man, I feel you, man. It's just. We've seen so much as Raider fans, man. We've seen everything as Raider fans. So that's why, like, when I was watching the game and everything, I wasn't really too mad. I wasn't really too happy. It was just I seen everything at the end of the day. But let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, man. Y'all may know him as Raider Ray, man. What's good, man? How you doing?
Yo, what's good, Pharaoh? What's good, Nation?
Man, hey, man. We haven't really talked since Monday, man. I mean, we talked a little bit before the show started. We'll be honest, but before that, we were only talking about the game. We kind of went on shutdown mode, and I feel you because it was just a terribly officiated game to begin with. So many bad calls on both sides. Let's keep it real. But the fact that it was happening to the Kansas City Chiefs, I wasn't really mad. I mean, it was a fumble. And I'm gonna put it out there. I'm not gonna be no Patriots fan out here just lying that it wasn't a fumble. It was a fumble. Derek Carr did fumble, but did I have any sympathy? No, I didn't. I'm like, we've seen so many calls go against us, and guess what? The NFL wanted to make up that call, and they let us have it in the second half. But what were your thoughts of the game, man?
You know what? Overall, now that the emotions are a little bit over, I was pretty happy with the team. Now, yeah, here and there are the still same issues popping up. Execution, not playing for 4 quarters. The penalties, that's a whole story, some justified, some completely not justified, and we'll kind of get into that. Overall, I haven't seen a fight against the Kansas City Chiefs like this since the 2020 season, and that's what I was impressed about. You're talking about arguably probably the best team in the league right now, and we go down right to the wire with them, punch for punch. Now, this one hurt. I'm going to be honest with you, Pharaoh. I wanted this game more than all the other ones. And we were right there. That's what sucks about these losses, if I'm being completely honest with you, is we're so close. Like, you can taste it, right? Like, victory is always like in reach with this football team, and it's like we can't execute it. And it kind of piggybacks off of last season, right? We won a lot of these close football games. And now this year we're on the other end of it, right? We're losing in these close football games, and it comes down to a play or two here. Overall, man, I really do think punch for punch we can stand with the Chiefs. That's what last night showed.
Facts, 100%. I mean, obviously during the game, I wasn't happy with what was going on, especially us getting penalized. That Kuntz penalty was terrible. You never see a penalty like that at all. But at the end of the day, like I thought we coached up. We had a great plan. I thought everything that we asked before the game. I want to see McDaniels. I want to see Graham. I want to see them coach up these players, and then I want to see these players execute. And I seen that. I seen that against one of the best teams on the road against Arrowhead, and I dropped a video today, and I brought up a point about how a lot of Raider fans, we have short term memory because the Kansas City Chiefs have been beating our ass for years, including last year with a guy that a lot of Raider fans didn't want to lose, Rick Bisaccia. We lost 48-9 last year at home, or not at home, on the road, and it was 35-3 at halftime, and this is with Bisaccia and that coaching staff. And Josh McDaniels in his first year comes in, and hey, I'm not gonna lie, he had him playing hard. It was a competitive game, and we're gonna get into all the little things that happened throughout the game. But in my opinion, I thought like Josh McDaniels, in my opinion, he did a good job, as well as the coaching staff. There were some plays here and there that I was like, okay, it's a work in progress as far as the passing offense, but running the ball is Josh Jacobs, man. The dude's a monster. He's third in the league in rushing. Dude is dominating, averaging over 5 yards a carry. This is the best I've ever seen Josh Jacobs play. Like he's dominating out there. O-line looked good. I'm not sure. Did you see if they're still doing the rotating O-line? I know they were bringing in Thayer Mumford as an additional tackle, but I'm not sure if they were rotating tackles.
Stuck with Illuminor the entire game, and yeah, he was in as a sub tight end. Really, what I seen also though, Pharaoh, was that this Kansas City Chiefs team can bleed, and I think Josh McDaniels went out there and punched him in the mouth. It showed him for the first time in a long time, not just kind of like a fluke type of game. It felt like the Raiders punch for punch were able to hang with the Chiefs. Like when you watch that football game back, if you take all the stupid play calling, the refs, the penalties out of that situation, the officiating, these teams aren't too far apart. These teams aren't far apart at all. So to me, it's encouraging. I think that the Raiders could have won this football game, and going into the bye week at 2-3 is a lot better than 1-4. We're just going to be honest. However, I don't like seeing the nation just sit here and throw in the towel in the season, because I think it's far from done, if I'm being completely honest with you. I mean, you got a 6-game stretch here. I mean, I've got the remaining schedule pulled up, and we'll kind of jump into this, man. I mean, you've got the Texans, the Saints, the Jags, the Colts, the Broncos, the Seahawks. I mean, you go through all of those games, and the Raiders are better than all of those teams. You can make the argument they were better than the Chiefs, and they should have won that football game. Facts. So going into these, like, yeah, if the Raiders play to the talent of these teams, yeah, the situational play calling could become an issue. But when you look at a Colts team, there's no reason that they should even compete with us, right? I know it's the National Football League. I know games are close. But let's be honest, the Raiders are a far more better team. When you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Raiders should win that football game. The Texans are not good. The 1-4 Raiders are such a different story from the 1-3 Texans, right? And I think everybody around the league would agree with that. So you have these next 6 games coming off, and if the Raiders can come and rally, well, you're talking about a 7-4 football team. And then they're right in the mix, right? The NFL does such a good job, right? And we kind of talk about this on the phone off the show, but they do such a good job at structuring the schedule. And when you look at the Raiders' back end of the schedule, they've got like 4 primetime games towards the end of the year. The NFL is a good business, and you know this.
Yep.
Why are they putting the Raiders in primetime games at the end of the year? And I truly believe that Raiders are going to be one of those teams, especially with the media talking about like, hey, look, this Raiders football team is actually a really good football team. It's just they haven't figured it out. If they can go on like a 6-game, 5-game winning streak, and you're at that 6-4, 6-5 range come the middle of the season, and you're in that last stretch, and you got those primetime games, look, outside of the Chiefs, the Bills, like, those other football teams, the Miami Dolphins, the Jets, you just start going down the list of all these teams. The Raiders have a real opportunity, especially if they can get wins over them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that the season's done.
No, I don't. I agree 100%. And Do you want to address Gord Peterson? He says poor coaching and situational awareness. So, Gord, are you talking about specifically like a lot of people, the media, were talking about the 2-point conversion? You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? I mean, I'll just start. I'll start off. In my opinion, I thought I wasn't mad at McDaniels after the game. I thought McDaniels coached up a good football game, and I wasn't mad at that 2-point conversion at all, because at the end of the day, the Kansas City Chiefs were getting what they wanted on offense. When it's all said and done, our defense wasn't stopping anybody. And if you really think about it, before they went for two, Andy Reid did. He went for two. He was trying to go for the knockout blow. And we gotta take it all the way back to 2020 when we last beat the Chiefs. How did we beat the Chiefs? We were aggressive. We are aggressive. We obviously forced turnovers. That's something that we didn't do last game, and I wish we could have. You know what I mean? It might have worked in our favor, but either way, we still had a chance to win the game at the end. But Josh McDaniels he's a smart guy. And a lot of people, a lot of the media, a lot of the beat writers were all saying, "Oh man, it was too early to go for a 2-point conversion." In my opinion, if they think about it, if they would have tied up the football game, what do you think? What do you think the Kansas City Chiefs would have done on offense?
Exactly. They would have drove down the football field, like, and they would have held on to that football.
Wind that clock all the way
Exactly.
down, all the way down, all the way
Exactly. So
down.
I'm in the same boat. In the moment, look, I'm not gonna lie. In the moment when I seen them lining up going for two, because I wasn't thinking ahead, straight up. Like, I wasn't thinking ahead. I was
Yep.
like, why are they going for two right now? Like, tie up this football game, get a defensive stop, and go down and kick a field goal. They were thinking ahead, because if you get a lead, say we converted on that 2-point conversion, and now you got a 31-30 lead. It was 31-30, right? If they would have converted.
Yeah,
I believe so.
31-30.
Yeah.
It would have went up
So
one.
yeah, so now it makes their offense a different style of offense that they have to call, because
Yep.
now they're behind and they have to speed things up, which ultimately gives the Raiders what? More time on the clock to possess the ball. So they were thinking 2 steps ahead. You know what I mean?
It's hella smart.
It is smart. So I get everybody's like calling for their head on it, but hindsight, you can make an argument either way, right? Either way, you can make that argument. Now, yeah, knowing now the results of the football game, of course, everybody's going to say, "Oh, we should have kicked the field goal and went into overtime." That's easy to say hindsight. Had Josh McDaniels got that 2-point conversion and went up 31-30, and we got that defensive stand, now we're running the football and running the clock out and kneeling the ball for a Raiders victory. None of the toe tap catch that was called an incomplete would have ever had to happen. You know, the 4th and 1 taking a shot and the two running into each other, that would have never had to happen. So I get it, right? And if you're going to play the Chiefs, you've got to be aggressive. Like, how many they would have played it aggressive in their hand. They would have taken it to us. Why do we always, as Raider fans, it's almost like we want to coast to a victory, and I'm tired of it. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to take this division, you want to show that the Raiders are there. Coach, like, dude, we went punch for punch. We were in the 12th round in a war. Like, it came down to the final bell.
I
And
love the aggressiveness. The whole game, it was aggressiveness. And when I seen that 4th and 1 in the beginning of the game, and he went deep, I was like, wow, like Josh McDaniels impressed me as a coach, in my opinion. Like, this is my opinion. I know you guys are gonna be frustrated. We're 1-4. I'm not defending him for all the other games. There are definitely some games where you have an argument about Josh McDaniels, but this game, no, not at all, man. Because how many times have we watched games where we did tie it up? We did what we're, on paper it looks good, but at the end of the day, our defense just gave up a quick score. And and respect to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You got to respect it. They're good at what they do, and they were going to score. They were going to score, and you made a point how, like, if we want to win up one, it changes up their whole game plan, because now are they going to run the ball as much? No, they're going to pass the ball. And if they're going to pass the ball, guess who's back? Guess who's the only elite player on our defense that's going to be eating, that's going to be getting sacks, and that's Max Crosby, the guy
who
that's
was
tied for 6
who
sacks in the league.
yeah, and it's not like he was just having some subpar game and where you're just like hypothetically saying, "Oh, Max Crosby may have gotten involved." Like, no, Max Crosby was in their face. Like, what is apparent is the Raiders have closed this gap. This gap is not. This is no longer a 41-7 competition anymore. Like, especially if you take the officiating out of that game, like you're talking about a Raiders football team that went in there punch for punch and competed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, I truly believe that this team is starting to figure it out. I know the locker room's probably frustrated. If they can stay the course, I think this bye really did fairly. It came at a perfect time.
Perfect.
It's 1-4. It's tough right now. But if you can gather this locker room and get them ready for these next 6 games, if you can get healthy and sit them down in one of those players only meeting and say, hey, look, we had a tough schedule to start and we lost all these games by one single possession. Look at our schedule. These aren't like the teams that we just faced, right? We have the opportunity to go out here and go on a 6 to 7 game win streak. The next toughest game that we play is in 7 weeks against the Chargers. A game that I believe that we could win, especially if the Chargers are still beat up. So, and that's on primetime football.
Yep.
So, if
a
the
game
Raiders,
that, a game that we could have won the first time if we came with a better game plan. And I'm not trying to act like I'm the coach here and I'm the offensive guru. No, but I can see where I can point out something that's really obvious. And something that was really obvious in that first game was we didn't run the ball against that defensive front that had Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. You know what I mean? How smart was that? You know what I mean? I thought, Josh McDaniels probably got a little too cocky there. He was trying to like open up the passing game. But at the end of the day, we've seen that the passing game right now is still developing, in my opinion.
Here's the thing. The Raiders are finding an identity. I think that's evident.
Yep.
I mean, they're an aggressive running style football team. Now that you have an identity, you're taking it to one of the premier football teams in the National Football League. If you can stick to that identity against teams like the Texans, against teams like the Colts, against teams like the Jaguars, and you can continue to build this passing game along and get these guys up to the playbook, by the time we play the Chargers next, if this offense is clicking on all cylinders, I really do think this offense, you're going to see the best of them later in the year. Like when those games matter. And I think that's when this offense is going to click in, when they're playing the Chargers. They've got that primetime game against New England. They've got the Chiefs late in the year. These football teams are playing the Raiders early when they don't even necessarily have an identity and they're going through their struggles, and the Raiders are taking them into deep waters. What happens late in the year when this offense is clicking and these guys are comfortable with this offensive playbook? I'm just saying, Raider Nation, keep the seatbelt on and stay tuned. I know it's rough right now. Right now, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm telling you, if you stay patient, the Raiders are going to go rally off a few wins here, and we're right back in the mix. There's not a ton of teams that are just pulling away in the AFC. Okay, we're still in this fight. 1-4. It looks rough. It looks hard. You go on a 5-game win streak. You go on a 4-game or a 6-game win streak. Look, we're right back in the mix, man, and then we're among the elite. And it's not only going on a 6-game win streak, Pharaoh. It's going on a 6-game win streak, and this team week by week is improving.
Yep.
Like the Raiders' offense against the Chiefs was
they
better.
Got better every game this season.
And was better than the Raiders' offense against the Broncos.
Yep.
Facts.
And let me get to this comment right here. Sean Downey says, "Salute, gentlemen. Appreciate you pulling up, brother. Love your calm demeanor after a tough loss. Too many half-ass fans ready to jump ship already. We went toe-to-toe with the best team in the league. And, I won't say they're the best team in the league. They're one of the best, though, for sure. Anytime you got Andy Reid and Mahomes, it's not going to be an easy game. Those guys have proven time and time again and almost walk out with a W. 100% facts. 100% facts. I don't think people realize, like, they literally, like, the Chiefs they owned us for years. And I'm not talking about they've been winning close games. I'm talking about they've been destroying us.
Other than that one, bro. They were shook. Outside of those officials, like, let's be real, bro. The officials brought them back into that game. And it started right before halftime with the face mask by Roderick Teamer, and it got them into field goal positioning. And then all that just carried over into the second half of the football game, where that first offensive drive by the Raiders, like all those penalties, and then they punt the football. You get some holding call. Like, the refs literally walked the Chiefs back into that football game. And then Patrick Mahomes wants to run around the field, and he's throwing up 4. Like, that's number 4. And I'm like, bro, like, you were shook the first half. Max Crosby was wrecking the game. Like, okay, that last drive, if you're such a playmaker, he could have went and put that game away after we gave up that penalty on the field goal, right? It gave them a whole new set of downs in the red zone. And the Raiders defense still go back on the field and hold them again to give the offense an opportunity. Look, all I'm saying, dude, is this Raiders team is getting better. I know it hurts. Like this loss hurt. Like it sucked. I'm not gonna lie, because we're so close.
I know.
But I'm telling you, these so close, it's gonna start turning over into wins and wins. And once this football team starts gaining momentum and starts tasting what it's like to win 3 games in a row, the Raiders are gonna be a tough team. They're gonna be a really hard team to stop.
Facts. And Alfredo says we're gonna mess around and win 6 in a row. Ain't that another Raider thing to do? Yeah, facts. I mean, yeah, based off last year at least, you know what I mean? Like how
It's
many
not out
times
of the
have we?
equation.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, I think this game doesn't hurt as much as the Cardinals game. And I mentioned to you earlier. The Cardinals game, the Tennessee Titans game, those are winnable games. You know, and that's what hurts, especially when you're up 20 against the Cardinals. I think games like that kind of make you think and like, man, like because the Chiefs game at the end of the day, it wasn't one of those games where like, oh, we're gonna come in there and we're gonna dominate. We knew that it was gonna be a heavyweight fight if we did our part. Even if we did our part, we knew that the Chiefs, even if we were up 17, and I knew the game wasn't over. I knew the game
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
over.
I knew. Yeah, I was
We
messaging people who follow my chat, like Evan Kellogg. He's a Chiefs fan. He's my best friend. We're messaging, and I was like, "Hey, don't be surprised." I could show you the screenshot. I was like, "Literally, don't be surprised if this second half is a completely different football game." And that's exactly what happened, right? It was a tale of two halves. For me, like I do see your aspect on the Cardinals side. For me personally, though, this Chiefs one felt a little bit different. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't just the Raiders versus the Chiefs. The Cardinals game was a complete meltdown on the defensive side of the football, right? It just was not executing, was playing undisciplined. You're dropping defensive ends back in coverage in the red zone. This game, though, like we were so toe to toe with the so-called kings of the NFL, and you're at their home in hostile territory on Monday Night Football. You're a 1-3 team. Everybody counted you out, and we punched them in the mouth, and we showed them that they could bleed, and they were shook, bro. Like at halftime, when it was like at one point it was like 20-3, and they were showing the Chiefs sideline, and those players for real, they looked like they got hit in the mouth. Like they knew, like, okay, like this is a different Raiders football team. Like this isn't the team anymore that we're just going to come in here and throw seven touchdown passes. So for me personally, I felt this one's it stung a little bit differently, because I was pretty confident we could go 2-3 into the bye.
Because we could have won. We could have won. And Van City, he says, I disagree, Ray. I think you kick the extra point, you get 3 and out, and then run the ball 3-4. What makes you think that we're gonna get 3 and out? And I'm gonna let Ray answer this question because it's directed at him. But that's my thing. What makes you think that the Chiefs would have went 3 and out if it was tied up? At that point, it's the ball. The ball goes back to them, and then
they're in control of the game. That's the problem.
Exactly.
That's the problem, Van City, is hindsight. Like I said, hindsight. Like, look, Van City, you're not wrong, right? There's two sides to this coin. However, do you want to give a team like the Kansas City Chiefs control of the football game? Or do you want to control the game yourself, which is what I think the Raiders need to get back to, is taking it to the Chiefs. Go out there and chief the Chiefs. Like, go out there and score on them and put them in a position to where they have to execute play by play. Like, I'm tired of playing this passive, you know what I mean? Like, let's, I don't know. I see what you're saying, right? And there's a perfect argument for it. Like, you're not wrong, Fan City. But at the same time, if you connect on that third and make it 31-30, now the Chiefs are desperate. And then if you send them in a 3 and out, you've already locked the game. You don't have to drive the length of the football field and kick a field goal. You got it ice. So the whole notion was to convert on that 2-point conversion, get the 3 and out. Like, as long as you got a defensive stand, like what you were just saying, the Raiders win the game. There's not 3 steps. There's 2 steps. The Raiders hit the 2-point conversion. They get the 3 and out. That's it. That's game. If you don't, and you go for that tie, now you're talking about you're down. Now you have to get stop, and then you have to go and drive the length of the football field and kick a field goal. They were thinking ahead, right? And they were literally putting the game on the defense, and if the defense could have got that, it would have iced the game. So, look, I see it from both sides.
And I recommend anybody who doesn't believe it, just listen to McDaniels explain his reasoning. I seen it. I kind of seen it after the fact. I was like, man, I thought it was really smart because I was really thinking about it. But then when I seen his press conference, I think it was on Monday, and I posted a short today. You guys guys, if have any time, go ahead and check that out. And he explains his whole thought process of why he actually went for it, um, went for that 2-point conversion. And man, it was real smart because it's not one of those things that he's always going to do this. He's always going to go for two. He explained it as like he felt in the game. He felt like the momentum was with the Chiefs offense.
Do you want to go to overtime? Do you want to go to overtime on primetime football at the Chiefs' home when they had all that momentum?
If this was like the Denver Broncos, or if this was some other team with a struggling offense where our defense had control of the game, I bet you he kicks the field goal. But it wasn't like that.
No,
Come on.
And their offense was getting going too. Like they were doing those check downs to the running backs, and dude, they were getting 8 yards at a time. Like it was frustrating to watch. They got Sky Moore involved, and they were running those check downs, and it was. And dude, I don't know why this just came into my head, but dude, the holding penalties on Max Crosby that didn't go called. I don't know if you noticed that. Wild. And I'm not going to get into the officiating because we could go down a rabbit hole with that. We really could, because I feel like there's a lot of control going on in the National Football League with roughing the passer, with it's just, look, to me, Farrell, the NFL is a business. And the money line was so heavily favored for the Kansas City Chiefs that the amount 100%. Of money that the league would have lost out on if the Raiders would have went in there and upset them, it's almost obvious. I mean, that field goal penalty to put them back in the game to where they can go and score a touchdown. The NFL is getting to the point to where it's controlled by the upper hand, people that we'll never know their names to, right?
Thanks.
And they're controlling these games, and officiating is a big part of that, which is why all these rules
you get into that conspiracy talk right now. I don't know if they're ready for that, man.
I don't know, bro. I think that they are. That's the problem. Yeah. I think that they see it, and I think it's an elephant.
But let's go back to the football field, though. Let's go back to the football field, and you can see that the Raiders had 3 penalties, and then that fumble happened. That fumble, non-fumble, that roughing the passer, where it went our way, which I wasn't really complaining. But then they get 8 penalties after that play. So they start off 3 penalties, that play happens, and they get 8 penalties after that. So that kind of tells you, like, were they trying to make up for that call? Because it was a terrible call. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm always gonna be like, some of them, were penalties, and it was just lackadaisical football, right? And I can deal with that. Like if the Raiders do a penalty, look, I'm fair game. But some of those calls the other night, I mean, it was honestly one of the worst officiated games I've seen in a long time. Like it was bad. And it was so bad that it almost looked obvious what was happening. Like no matter what the Raiders were doing, no matter what kind of success the Raiders started to generate in the second half, that yellow flag marker would pop up at the bottom of the screen. And it was like every single time there was an opportunity for the Raiders to create momentum, there was a divergent. Like it was us against the Chiefs. We were facing 2 opponents that night. Yeah. You know what I mean? The Chiefs and the officiating.
And Luis Lopez says, aren't we a top 10 offense? I believe last time I checked, we were like outside of the top 10. We might, at this point, because with Josh Jacobs running the ball that like we have, offensively, I didn't really have an issue with the Raiders offense other than the fact that we were getting penalties. But then I don't know if it was hard because the game was a terribly officiated game. So it was just one of those. It was a tough game, and we still could have won it at the end if Davante could have just caught that 3rd and 1 pass, or if Davante didn't run into that. And you know what? And I told you this before the show started. I said 10 times out of 10, he's going to make that play. But right now, you could just tell that passing offense is still developing. That running offense is still there. And Josh Jacobs, let's talk about him real quick. Like, man, do you think we're going to offer him a contract at the end of the year if he keeps up the way he's playing? Because
here's the thing. Everybody always talked about this, and I was huge against this. You could go check the receipts back on my channel from months ago. The whole hype this offseason was Zamir White is going to be Josh Jacobs' replacement. Zamir White's not even seeing the football field. Zamir White's not even getting PT time over Brandon Bolden right now. And we want to talk about Zamir White being the Josh Jacobs replacement. Like, bro, that's ridiculous. Josh Jacobs is a top 5 runner. He's a number 3rd runner in the league right now.
Yep.
And here's my problem. Like, we always say this stuff like, oh, like we're just gonna sit here and replace this player. We already got that guy on the roster. And bro, to say Zamir White is anything close to Josh Jacobs is just ridiculous. Like they're 2 different leagues of runners. Like Zamir is not there yet. On top of that, with the Josh Jacobs contract situation, it kind of sucks, right? Like you get a little, is this a system thing? Is this a contract year? Like, are you going to have buyer's remorse? Say you go out there and you spend big money and pay Josh Jacobs. Is he going to come into the next year and be riddled with injuries? Look at the Darren Waller situation. Are we gonna rinse and repeat that cycle? I don't know, bro. I don't know. I love Josh Jacobs.
It's tough to pay a running back. It's tough to pay a running back, especially a running back like Josh Jacobs, who literally every year since his rookie year has been hurt. And it's I'm just saying, you got to throw that out there. If you're gonna pay big money, if he's gonna have a big year and you're gonna give him a big contract, like you got to think about like, okay, this player has been injured every year, and if they do give him a contract, it better be favorable for the Raiders, some way, shape, or form.
And here's the thing, like I think you go out and re-sign Josh Jacobs if you didn't throw so much guaranteed money this offseason.
Yeah.
If you didn't land a Chandler Jones to $17 million, if you don't, like, thank God they signed Max Crosby because that contract looks better and better as each and every single week goes by. I mean, that is just the fact that he landed less than $100 million deal is just mind blowing. And we've got Max Crosby locked up. I mean, you got a Davante Adams, which is great. The Hunter Renfrow contract is looking a little weird right now. The Chandler Jones contract is going to be one of those that do they move on from him in the offseason? And do they eat all that money? You're talking about a huge dead cap. A huge dead cap. It's not just like you're moving on from a Corey Littleton and you're eating, $4 million this season, $3 million the next season. There's ways around that, right? If they do release him, they can come to a settlement. But dude, I'm just saying you threw a lot of guaranteed money out this offseason.
But as the coaching staff, if you know that Chandler Jones is like done, or not just done, like he's not he's not what they thought he was, do you continue to still have him based off ego? Because in my opinion, like, nah, like you got to be able to make a shrewd move or at least restructure that contract. Most likely, Chandler Jones is going to want his money because that's what he signed, right? And I would be the same way too, because that's what we agreed on. But at the same time, like if he's not living up to that contract, and there's still a lot of games left, and I thought last couple games were better than the first few games.
As far as getting better too. Here's the team
disrupting the game
better.
Yeah,
the defense is getting better, right? And you're talking about a Nate Hobbs that broke his hand in the game and comes in the second half with a club on his hand and plays through with multiple broken bones in his hand. You've got a Rock Ya-Sin who's dealing with a knee strain. I mean, you lose Darren Waller 6 snaps into the game. Like you sign a Blake Martinez and he's getting starting reps and he's been with the team at that point, what was it, like 72 hours? Like you're talking about a defense that was kind of beat up. Like this team is getting better. And I think you get healthy over the bye week. You go into it. There's not a better game we could go into. This is why I feel like the scheduling. This is why I think the Raiders are not out of it. Like, bro, the NFL knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, look at the games that the Raiders have lined up. And then you're going to tell me if they go on a 6-game win streak and then they land a primetime game. I say they go on a 6-game win streak, hypothetically speaking, because they can win every single one of those games.
Facts. And I think the thing is that they can win those games, but at the same time, what's gonna work against them is the room for error. You know what I mean? That's why it sucks that we didn't win that game, because it was a winnable game in Kansas City at the end. And Sean, and before I get to Sean's comment, if y'all haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button. I see 29 of y'all. Make sure it's 29 likes. And also make sure to subscribe to both our channels, because we do this. It's a weekly thing. We switch off. This week's on my channel. Next week is going to be on Raider Ray's channel. So you want to make sure that we're subscribed to both. And we appreciate everybody pulling up. But Sean he points out something really obvious that people are just not even thinking. Like after we missed a 2-point play, we did stop them on 3 now and had the ball back when it was 30-29. Facts. The ball, like literally, we could have just ended it, and we didn't. At the end of the day, we didn't execute. Davante Adams wasn't that guy at the end. Like he should have at 3rd and 1, it should have been game over. He should have got in bounds, but he like hey, I looked at the replay. It wasn't a bad call at all. You know what I mean? Like he didn't have possession and he went out of bounds. And then the next play after that, 4th and 1, he runs into Hunter Renfrow. And things like that, they're not going to happen, but they happen because they're still developing chemistry. They're still developing confidence in this system. You know what I mean? This is not, if you look at last year, and I brought this up in the video I dropped today. Like we won a lot of close games. We were 6-1 in 3 points or less plus overtime games. 6-1. But
Right.
the problem is when you play that many close games, like we are doing this year, it can go either way. And when you win close games, it's all about execution. And last year we were like, our 4th year, and Derek Carr was his 4th year in that offense. The defense, first year with Gus Bradley, but you had a Derek Carr who was winning games in the 4th quarter, making plays in the 4th quarter because he's confident out there. He knows where the players are going to be. The players know where to go. Right now, they're not confident right now. They're not. I want to say they're not confident, but they're still getting used to this offense, and that's why Ray he's mentioning that. Hey, look, there's 6 games, winnable games, and we're getting better each and every game. This is the best we played, in my opinion. And before the game, me and Ray was like, this is the ultimate test. This is all due respect to the Chargers. I thought the Chiefs are the class of the division. They've been winning all these division titles. They got the best coach. They got the best QB. And I wanted to see how the Raiders matched up with them. If they blew us out, then it was going to be one of those years like, oh, okay. Then you guys can talk about McDaniels, this and that, and you could talk about all the players on our team, but that didn't happen. At the end of the game, we had a chance to win. Obviously, it didn't happen, but we got 6 games to look forward to, winnable games too. Come on, the Texans, the Lions, and
the Jags.
The Jags. You know what's surprising though? Some of these teams, because I think the Jags are 2-3. I believe. I don't think the Lions have a winning record, but the Lions have one of the best offenses in the league too.
We don't play them, do we?
Yeah, we don't play the Lions. We don't play the Lions. We play the Jags. We play the Texans.
The Colts. Here, I'll riddle off. We got Texans, Saints. Saints are a very winnable football game.
Yep.
Jaguars, Colts, Broncos, then Seahawks, bro. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 6, and then we play the Chargers, which we lost that game by 1 possession. Let's not act like the season's done. Like you've come this far and you've gone through this much, and you're going to sit here and throw in the towel. When really you're hitting a stretch of the schedule that the Raiders can handle this. Like if you're trying to figure out a formula to win, what better way to figure out that formula against these kind of football teams that you should be beating? That makes sense? Like these are the football games that you should be putting 4 quarters together and putting them out.
Facts.
And what better way? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Sean drops. Hey, Sean he's coming with facts. Everyone killed Gruden for being too conservative. Now we don't want to be aggressive. Make it make sense. Facts, 100%. At the end of the day, we were mad at Gruden because he was so conservative on 3rd and short and red zone situations. Just game management. Gruden was too conservative, especially against the Chiefs. The one time he wasn't conservative against the Chiefs, we won the game. And we had a chance to win the game with Josh McDaniels
being aggressive.
I don't know why everybody's complaining.
Because you can never make anybody happy, right? And if we were too conservative this football game, you'd be going at Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels gets aggressive, and everybody's still going at Josh McDaniels. So what is he? Is he going to ride the middle line, and then you'd be satisfied? What happens when he rode that middle line and he didn't convert? It comes down to execution at the end of the day, you guys. Like there's a coaching staff, and then there's players on the field, and the Raiders did not execute at the end of the football game. Davante Adams had a true opportunity, again, 2 feet down, right? That's a catch that, like you said, 10 out of 10 times he usually makes that catch. It was an anomaly, lack of execution. The 4th and 1 play, you get the exact same formation. You get the cover 0, all out blitz, one-on-one matchup across the board. The same look that you got on the first 4th down when you took a shot and scored a touchdown deep to Davante Adams in the first half. You get the exact same look, which is everything that you wanted. But what happened? The players did not execute on that football play, and it led to us losing. Did Josh McDaniels have to run that route for Davante or Hunter? No, I think Josh McDaniels put those guys in the situation that they want all game. They're going to take a one-on-one matchup all game. He put them in that position. That was the position that they were put in. Players didn't execute. That's it.
And Gord Peterson says, yes, we are 7-0 in OT games 2014. I don't know how accurate that stat is when we lost against the Cardinals as recently as the Cardinals in OT this year. So I don't know, Gord Peterson, maybe you wrote it wrong or anything like that, but make it make sense for me. All right, so let's see. Let's get back to the chat. Our defense was struggling. You know what? I'll say this about our defense. I felt like, yeah, the Chiefs got back into the game, but I thought that they helped build a lead. They got some stops early in the game when we built a early lead, and they also got a key stop at the end. If you guys remember, we got the ball back, and we literally got the ball back because our defense got them off the field. So for what it's worth, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I felt like, yeah, at the end of the day, like going into the game, it's not like we have the most talent on our defense. Come on. Matching up with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, come on now. Like,
not many.
We weren't going to shut them down. We were up 17-0. You can't tell me that you believe that we're going to win the game. I mean, not win the game, but I was just saying, I would say you wouldn't think that they were out of it because they're too aggressive. They're too talented with the coaching staff, with Andy Reid as a play caller, and
they can put
Mahomes.
They can put up 28 and a quarter if they wanted.
Exactly.
That game is never done ever.
Exactly, and that's what I big ups to Patrick Graham. He had a good plan. The pass rush was there in spurts. You know what I mean? They had their moments, but obviously, look, we were going against one of the best O-lines in the league. KC has one of the best O-lines in the league. Like I mentioned, Andy Reid is a great play caller. We seen it when they got to the red zone. How many touchdowns did was the tight end Kelsey have? 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But
when you look at the pointed out earlier yards, though, you would have thought that the Raiders. I mean, if you held him to 7 catches for 27 yards, if you looked at that stat alone, you'd be like, Raiders defense showed up. Like, Raiders probably win this football game. It's those 4 red zone touchdowns, bro. It's when it comes to the red zone, it's another thing about execution. Like, this team has got to learn how to execute 4 quarters.
I disagree, Gord. I disagree, man. When we have the ball at the end of the game to win it, we literally won. We were going to win the game, and they were not going to get the ball back. I bet you. I promise you, they were not going to get the ball back. I bet you. If Davante Adams would have caught that ball inbounds, or not inbounds, but he would have caught that ball and it would have been inbounds, and it would have been a catch on 3rd and 1. That last drive, I bet you the next probably 2-3 plays would be run plays. Josh Jacobs forced Kansas City to use their timeouts. We would have dwindled that timeout, and we would have had arguably the best kicker in the league, Carlson, kick the field goal and win the game.
It makes sense,
bro.
It makes sense.
I don't want the Chiefs to have any time left.
No, they're too good offensively.
No,
especially when everybody's like, "Oh, your defense is below average. It's average. We can't cover." Yet you want this team to have control of the football game at their home on primetime football in a second half football game where they're getting their offense going and they're clicking on all cylinders and the referees are calling every single thing for them. No, the Raiders put themselves in a position that they had full control of the game. And if they get one defensive stand, they can go out there and kneel the football on offense. You run it 3 times with Josh Jacobs, get a first down, and you start kneeling it. The Raiders walk out of there with a win, 31-30. So I don't know, bro.
Yeah, no, we can agree on this. Gord Peterson, officiating was pretty bad. It was terrible.
No, facts. It was
terrible, man. It was a great game. It was a great game, but I don't like watching games where like I'm constantly just like saying terrible call, this and that. I want to see, let them play, let the players play at the end of the day. Like let them play. And I thought that there's too many calls where we're like, why are they not calling this or why are they calling this? And that's just the NFL for you. You know what I mean? We can get into the conspiracies You know what I mean? I think someone mentioned JB says Ray, Willie, and Salt conspiracy.
Look, I don't know what any of their conspiracies are. I haven't heard any of it. I don't even necessarily think it's a conspiracy to say that referees and the NFL can control games. I think that there's too many rules in place, and there's obviously way too many questionable officiating calls, the roughing the passers, the block field goal, and we're just talking about our game specifically. We're not talking about all the other games across the National Football League where all these issues are popping up, right? Like, let's think of this not as fans of the sport for a second. And sorry, Farrell, but I just got to do this.
Go ahead.
If you're looking at this strictly from a business standpoint, when there's this much money allocated on betting lines and there's billions of dollars, I shouldn't say billions, millions of dollars on the line for the National Football League each and every single week. Okay. Betting is a real thing in sports. And I don't know if you guys know that, but these teams, this is a business, like these organizations, all 32 of them, this is money driven for them. Make no mistake about it. So 32 teams are competing financially every single week. And to say that these referees don't have control of outcomes of games, that is just as conspiracy to me that you would think that than it is to say that they have a hand in the game. They're the ultimate chess. They're the ultimate chess player, right? On any given down, you can make an argument that you can throw a flag. So there is control in small segments of the game. So I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's looking at it for what it is.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. The NFL sports in general is an entertainment business. It's a business. Everything from the commercials, how they like talk about. I think the NFL does it the best because they always talk about the rivalries and the one-on-one matches when really the players don't even go. Like quarterbacks don't play each other, but they always talk about Tom Brady and the Peyton Mannings or the Mahomes and whatever. And like this week, it's going to be Mahomes and Josh Allen. You know what I mean? And they do it. They do exactly. They're going to do a really good job in promoting that. And it's I get you 100%. I get you 100%. I thought it was strange.
If you look at the theme of the NFL, it's like these storylines, right? Each and every single week, they do such a good job of sucking you into the storylines. And this is like I'm saying, like I keep kind of going back to it, but these next 6 games, when you look at if the Raiders go on this, right, and say that they won these 6 in a row, and you're talking about a 7-4 football team going into a game against the Chargers, and then it starts your primetime games, and it's ironically just the last end of the season for those playoff pushes. Like the NFL knows, bro. Like they know what they're doing. So am I saying that the Raiders are going to make the playoffs? No. But am I saying that I think the Raiders are going to be involved in the mix and in the conversation, given based off what the schedule looks like, the remaining schedule? I think it's like the 7th easiest in the National Football League. Yeah, I say that they're going to be in the mix, and the NFL is actually going to make money. Have you noticed since the Raiders have gone to Las Vegas that they haven't had a losing record?
No, they want
money there
because the owners are just as invested as Mark Davis is in having a successful team in a new market in Vegas. They want to make sure the Raiders play well. They're gonna because they're invested in as much as Mark Davis is because I think they put up money to build that Allegiant Stadium.
Facts.
But to be fair though, we're talking about all sports. We can talk about all sports and say
it's not just the National Football League.
Yeah, facts.
At all. So I'm not saying like, oh, this is just a conspiracy out on the Raiders. No, the Raiders are such a small piece in what is a big, big picture here. So I don't think it's conspiracy. I don't know what those other guys' conspiracy is. I haven't heard them. I don't know what they're talking about. But what I'm talking about when it comes to officiating and gambling and all the money and it being a business, I think that's pure facts.
Raiders 7528 says Kirk Cousins is winning again with the Vikings. Give me your thoughts. Does this end the Cousins Carr debate? Nah, I would take Carr over Cousins, but it's easy to take Cousins right now because he's playing well in that offense with receivers that he's been playing for 2 or 3 years now, 3-4 years now.
Back to the system thing, which is a good segment into a next conversation, is the whole Derek Carr topic, right?
Right.
And it's okay. So all these Raider fans are saying, "Oh, let's move on from Derek Carr." So let me give you a situation. Next season, would you take a second-year Derek Carr in the Josh McDaniels scheme and system with these guys, or do you reset and almost put yourself back in a situation that you're in this season? Say the Raiders go out and draft a quarterback in the first round. Ultimately, you're bringing in a rookie now to learn a playbook that a 9-year veteran is struggling to pick up and developing chemistry with guys that he's played with in college. And now you're going to insert a rookie into this offense. I feel like we're taking another step back if we do that. So it's like, does a rookie outperform Derek Carr? If you look, if you have the opportunity to go out and get the next Patrick Mahomes or the Herbert or all those situations, yeah, okay, go out there and make a move. It's never a guarantee though. And to say that they're going to come in and perform better than maybe a Derek Carr in a year 2 of the system, let's see how Derek Carr does as this season progresses. Because if we make a playoff run and Derek Carr is playing his best football late in the year, I guarantee you they re-sign him. I guarantee it. Because if you don't, you're going to take a step back.
I think part of the reason why Josh McDaniels and Dave Z came to this situation is because Derek Carr was part of that equation. Now, are they 100% locked into Derek Carr? Obviously, the way they set up that contract, it was kind of like, okay, let's see how it works out. But if, like you said, if he play, it's going to be tough though.
It's going to be hard. It's hard to sit.
It's going to be tough because if we don't make the play, because I think Josh McDaniels stays over Derek Carr. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, Josh McDaniels need to go." No, Josh McDaniels, he's gonna get a second year before Derek Carr would get a second year, in my opinion. Because they're, at the end of the day, one of the reasons why Mark Davis brought Josh McDaniels is because his background and history in developing quarterbacks, and not just Derek Carr, but the future too as well. Because Derek Carr, he's in his 30s, and for whatever reason, if it doesn't work out or whatever the case may be, at least you got a guy who's known to develop quarterbacks back there. So let's say if we go away from Derek Carr, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just putting it out there.
Right.
Josh McDaniels has a track record of a Mac Jones, of a Matt Castle, obviously Tom Brady. I'm not going to use Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is all-time great. But Tom Brady had his best years under McDaniels. Top 10 offense, top 5 offense, top 3 offense, number 1 offense under Tom Brady. So
do you think a rookie comes in and performs better than a second-year Derek Carr in the system? I'm talking even if you have the first overall pick and you go get the best quarterback in the draft. Do you think he comes in and has a better performance than a Derek Carr, a smart IQ football player, 2 years into the system with the chemistry that he has with the receivers?
I don't think it's a matter of who's better. I'm thinking it from a team aspect, because if we don't sign Derek Carr, how much money are we going to free up in that cap space? What is that rookie going to be coming into? He's going to be coming into a way better team, a better defense, a even better offense, better O-line, because that's a lot of money. We're paying Derek Carr that we can allocate to different parts of the team.
It's not that. So, it's really not a ton of money though. $27 million for a Derek Carr.
It is. Look at the reason why the Chargers are so talented is because Herbert is on a rookie deal.
Right. But then you can also make that catch-22, like Patrick Mahomes signed a $500 million deal. Right?
That's true, but Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes.
Herbert is going to Herbert too. You know what I mean? Like,
but Herbert, I'm not going to compare Herbert to. I mean, I like Herbert. I think he's a good QB. Come on, Patrick Mahomes.
No, he's special. But what I'm saying, like, I guess what I'm saying is overall in the big picture, it's like we're in a weird situation to where, yeah, is Derek Carr this top 5 quarterback? No. But Derek Carr has shown that when he has a head coach and it's a consistent scheme and system, he gets better year after year. And I think if you sign Davante to a 3-year deal, I think ultimately Derek Carr might have a home for 3 seasons.
He does, but like I said, it's really dependent on how the season turns out. You know what I mean? I think it really depends on it. And there's a reason why there's a wiggle room to get out this contract after this year. There's a reason, because they know that if it doesn't work out, they have an ability to get out of that situation with Derek Carr. If it was a situation where, like that wasn't the case, then yeah, I would be with you 100%. But then there's another side to me. I'm like, if it doesn't go right, like if Derek Carr doesn't figure out at some point if he doesn't throw more than 2 touchdowns.
That's got to change, bro. That's got to
Because
change.
we're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, man. You seen Patrick Mahomes he throws 4 touchdowns like he don't even have to look at the field.
We are and I don't say this to brag or boast. We are the only people I've heard talk about that stat. I haven't even heard national media talk about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is the fact that DC has not thrown more than 2 touchdowns. And I know we reiterate it on this channel, but it's like, bro, that's crucial. That's crucial in these games. Look at all these close games that the Raiders just missed in the red zone. Like, you're talking about wins and losses here now at this point. I don't know.
Hey, I appreciate that, Jack. This is the best 10 of YouTubers out there. I was asking for parent forever, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Salute to you, man. We were talking about you the other day.
And
you
shout
and
out to OG. Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to OG, man. I forgot to do that at the top of the show, man. Shout out to OG. Really gave me my first live. And honestly, if you guys aren't subscribed, go to OG Chronicles of the Black Hole. Jack Kenna was on there. Jack Kenna was actually on my first live show. So in such a short amount of time, how far we've come. And honestly, because those guys gave me a taste like, hey, this is a reality. OG's like, hey, man, I really think that you're good at this thing. You should continue to do it. It gave me a motivation. Pharaoh early on, people don't know this, but behind the scenes, Pharaoh gave me good criticism. You know what I mean? Healthy criticism as another YouTuber. And I took those criticisms seriously. And he knows that. We've talked about that behind the scenes. But because of Pharaoh, because of OG, that you see what this channel has become. So huge shout out to OG. Shout out to you, Jack Kenna. And shout out to Pharaoh too, because Pharaoh was a part of this process as well.
Salute likewise, man. I appreciate everybody that's pulling up. And make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, go ahead and subscribe to Raider Ray's channel as well. We do a weekly show, so you want to make sure you subscribe to both our channels because we switch off every week. We're in talks of talking about making it another show during the week, but just be on the lookout for that. But make sure to subscribe to both channels so you can be updated. And Raider Gabe, man, I appreciate you pulling up, brother. If y'all haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to Raider Gabe as well. Too many people giving up on the season, and we're about to go on a big run after the buy market. Hey, you heard it. You heard it. Raider Gabe calling it right now. He calling it right now. Austin Martinez says, I like the aggressive play calling. DC needs a better code for identifying blitzers. You know what? He was there was times where he pointed out blitzes, but they still came through. And maybe that's the inexperience of the O-line. Maybe it's the constant shuffling and switching of the O-line. But that being said, hey, every game, this team is getting better. The O-line is getting better. The passing game is getting better. That Josh Jacobs is getting better because he literally set a career high against the Broncos with 144 yards rushing. And then he breaks it against the Chiefs with 155 yards rushing. So I wonder what the next game is going to be. Hopefully it's 200 yards rushing and we win the game. We blow out the Texans, but we're not going to talk about that until next week. So bye week. But let me get back into the chat. It comes down to the QB. Okay. All right. Gabe speaking facts. All right. Jack agrees with you. The LA Rams are not looking that good this year. We can win that. We can beat Pittsburgh. We beat the Patriots. I think Chargers, 49ers, because they're toughest. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. That 49ers game, that defense is just crazy. It's crazy. That 49ers game is for sure going to be tough. Kansas City, definitely. I agree. Chargers, okay. Definitely going to be tough game. Sean Johnson, okay. Raiders 7528 says, you guys better hope Jacobs doesn't get her. Oh, man. Facts.
That's true.
Right now, the way he's carrying this team, he's carrying this offense.
Right. We're not saying nothing. We've said that the identity is through this run game. So yeah, that's true.
Our defense is only average. Man. I mean, I was mentioning this to Ray earlier. I'm like, we literally have one great player and then everybody else. Everybody else. I like Nate Hobbs, but he's a good player. He's not in that great category.
Hey, I mean, you do what you want. I would probably scroll down to the bottom of the comments and have them repost because we're like way behind, bro.
Oh, we're way behind. Okay.
We're way behind. So,
my apologies. I'm way behind over here. I'm trying to over here talking and I'm ignoring the chat. My bad. Okay. Where are we at? Let's see.
And everybody, look, if you had an actual question, because I know that there's a lot of dialogue going back and forth in the comment section. Redrop your questions now that we're at the bottom of the chat. Me and Pharaoh were just talking dialogue, so drop them down there.
Hey, Debo, I seen this. But I didn't want to bring this up because I had to I got to check this out. But he said someone said the only holding calls in the last 7 years against the defense on a field goal were against the Raiders, which is true. I think in 2015 someone brought up, and I seen that. I think Josh DuBois, he's like the king of stats. He said it. The only other time that it happened was against the Raiders against Khalil Mack in 2015. But he said by the same official. I didn't know that. I wasn't too sure about that. By the same official, is this true? Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
Yeah, that's
Hey, Debo, don't be throwing another cherry on top of this conspiracy. That's what you're doing.
For real. Don't be fair weather fan, guys. The team needs our support winter to. Hey, man, for real. Yeah, man, it's a long season. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these fans that's fair weather, they're gonna watch it on Sunday. They're just mad right now. They're gonna watch on Sunday.
Exactly.
Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whenever they're gonna watch the games. There's only a couple. You know what I mean? Like they're just in their emotions because
how
much
have we been through? I mean, real Raider fans, how much have we genuinely been like? How long did we support terrible rosters and never gave up and always rallied behind this football team, even when it sucked? We still have the best talent on this team that we've had in quite some time, and after 5 games, we're ready just to throw it in. When we're walking into the 7th easiest remaining schedule in the National Football League, everybody needs to chill out, bro. Like the season is not done at all by any means.
Okay, so Jack brought it up here. He says, "Fair and Ray, why was that person the Raiders told after the game? AD should get his from
our
his firm or his team our legal. Okay, AD should get his from
Devante
our legal
Adams. I think he meant DA.
Okay, so DA, yeah, DA should definitely get his representation together because that was a situation. It was a tough game. He made some mistakes at the end of the game. Literally, you know, Raider Ray, he's been to KC games, and he was letting me know how tough it is, especially after a loss.
Bro,
like
after the game, if you guys have, if you guys, sorry to cut you off, bro.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you guys have ever been to a Kansas City game, I've been to primetime Kansas City games against the Raiders, and if you guys understood what it's like after those games, like especially when those players are getting back into the tunnels, you're talking ridiculous name calling. You're talking about beer getting thrown at you, spilled on top of you. Fights breaking out. Like, bro, it is the NFL's job, and the NFL has people in place where it's their job to clear out those tunnels so those players can safely get back into those locker rooms. The fact that there's a boom mic guy in the way of the tunnel, and look, I'm not defending Davante in the aspect that he could have reacted a lot better. Okay, he could have not done that. So I'm not condoning what he did, but I'm also going to say there's no reason why that dude should have been in his way. And then on top of that, there's no reason why this dude should have went and filed a misdemeanor and say he had a concussion. Like, that's wild to me. Like, chill out. Yeah. Like, Davante didn't even put his body into the push. It was literally like get out of my way. So the whole thing, bro, is it just adds to the whole
there's actually a second clip too. If y'all, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but there was a second clip where there's a camera right behind Davante Adams, and you could see as Davante's clearly just walking, and all of a sudden, dude just walks right in front of Davante Adams. You know, after a heating game, and you're hearing all types of crazy thing happening, and he just, I'm not agreeing with what Davante Adams did, but at the same time, like, I'm not 100% on the other guy's side too. I'm like, hey, like, why would you even just walk in front of why would you walk in front of anybody like that? Like,
let's put it this way. If you're holding a boom mic, say we got credentialed, right? And we're working on the sideline, and you got out of line and you got in the way of Raiders players walking into the tunnel, and one of them pushed you, are you really going to go to the authorities and put a lawsuit in on this dude? Or are you going to hear him out on the apology of like, look, like, you were in my way. It was a heated game. And it's like, okay, like, look, I get it. Like, the fact that these people are willing to go to the extreme of putting in a legal action against Davante, like, bro, this dude was just competing at the highest level in the world and lost a nail-biter game, and it's somebody's job to clear those tunnels so there's nobody in the way so these dudes could get to the locker room. I think if they do take this to court, there's a lot of ways for Davante to get out of this, right? Because the National Football League, like I just said, they have officiating teams to clear out those locker rooms. Like, why is that dude in the way? There's a lot of ways to get around it. So I think it'd be in the best interest for this guy to just to not go to that extent.
Daniel Kim says, do you guys think we add another DB or D tackle over the next 2 weeks? And before you answer that question, there's 38 y'all in the room. Please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And like I said before, subscribe to both our channels because we do a weekly show. Once this week is on my channel, next week is on his channel. So make sure to subscribe to both channels so then you'll be tuned in. And also hit that notification. So every time we go live, y'all know when we go live. So I appreciate everybody that's pulled up, but make sure to like the video as well. So then because that algorithm is real. Because if you guys don't like the video, then we can't come back and do this again. But Daniel Kim says, do you guys think we add another DB or D tackle over the next 2 weeks? See, man, and you heard about Hobbs playing with a broken hand?
Yeah, he broke his hand in the second half.
Wow, that dude's
He's a dog,
and he's a tough guy because last year he was playing with a bad shoulder.
Yeah, no,
Was it last year or the year before? I don't know if it was his rookie. Yeah, was it last year?
Him and Crosby are built different. Like that's what you look. Those are the type of guys you play.
Special, man, special.
Yeah, special. So
special. No, easy guys to root for.
To answer the question, yeah, I could see a move being made. Look, if the Raiders went out and added a wide receiver to the active roster,
but it's just been this long though.
I'd be interested.
They didn't add a D tackle.
But is that to say that they might be waiting for a trade deadline? Could you look at all these picks that they got, all these compensation picks, all these 6th-round picks, 7th-round picks, 5th-round picks? They've got a lot of room to maneuver, especially like a team that just lost their head coach like Matt Rule with the Carolina Panthers. If there's a defensive tackle or a DB on that roster that you're saying, hey, like we could bring this guy in. Again, don't forget that the Carolina Panthers also run that 3-4 type of system, so there is somewhat of a scheme fit there. So, and I'm just using them as an example, but do I see them signing a DB or a defensive tackle? I think that you do see a transaction made because look, the Raiders are 1-4, and there's got to be some type of moving and shaking, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, man, we've been talking about D tackle for a while. It almost seems like
if they would have made it, they would have made a move by now.
Yeah, it's like almost that they're okay. Maybe this bye week they have time to reevaluate this roster, and we're going to talk about that too as well. What this team could improve on, what to look forward to, because like you said earlier, like this is a great time for this bye week. I mean, we lost. It would have been nice if we won against the Chiefs and went into the bye week, and then we had this nice schedule, but we lost. But we lost a tough game, and we didn't get blown out. We hung in there, and we had a chance to win against one of the best teams in the league. And now we got a nice little schedule right after the bye week. But there's some things that we can improve on. And I've been saying D tackle for a while. Like it's just been an issue. Hopefully they can address it, but I'm not sure because it's been this long, and they've just held out. And
do you think Sue plays football this season?
He's all about the money.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
He's clearly all about the money. Because he could have signed with a lot of different teams.
But I don't know if he plays this year.
Nah.
I really don't.
Especially if his asking price is too high.
Like, bro, that might be it for him. Who knows?
Yeah, because if he's all about the money at this point, and I think Warren Sapp, I remember seeing a podcast of Warren Sapp, and he said that like because he was getting paid by the Raiders, and he like his last couple of years, I think his last year he had 10 sacks at D tackle. And he could have clearly came back, but
facts.
He would have came back for the money. And that's when he said, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to come back for just the money because that's when he knew he was done. So mentally he was done. I think maybe this might be it for Sue, but who knows, man? If someone comes calling and wants to pay him, we'll see. We'll see. But late to the party, bro. Have you talked about the Adams BS? Yeah, we just got done talking about it. Not a Raider YouTuber says trade Waller. Ooh, that's a hot take right there. Trade Waller. I mean, the way, man.
I don't think you do it right now. I don't. It's the whole team, right? It's not just Waller. It's the whole team right now. So if it was just a Waller situation, say the Raiders were winning football games, but the Waller situation was what it is right now, I think that's when you start talking about that. But the fact that week 1, you could have said was on DC. Week 2, clearly on Hunter Renfrow and the defense collapsing, right? Week 3, the Titans game. Is that the Titans game? Like, I forget now whose fault that was.
Titans game was week 3.
You got the issues in that game, which was ultimately a team. You then you play the Broncos and you win a football game, and then you go into the Chiefs, and now you're putting the blame on Davante. You know what I mean? So it's like this is a collective team issue.
Yeah.
This isn't just a Darren Waller issue. Darren Waller is just a small factor into what everything is going on. So, do I go out and trade Darren Waller? No, not right now. I don't. I know right now what's going on with Darren Waller is ridiculous. Like, literally, your contract looks pretty bad right now. Like what you extended him to extension, he wasn't there all training camp. He's injured. His connection with Derek Carr is clearly off. So, I don't trade him, but he's got to get involved. He's got to go.
No, Waller is, and Adebo's talking about he's talking about the guy that cut off Davante Adams, but Waller is definitely struggling. He was struggling before he went out, but I don't do it because at the end of the day, like what's gonna get us over the hump is the fact that we have a Davante Adams, we have a Waller, and we got to run for. We got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. And I think if we trade Waller, it's chemistry wise, the locker room, I don't know, because Waller, he's a big part of the community out in Vegas. His struggles are well documented. I don't know, he's obviously his teammates love him, and he's a talented player. So if we trade him, it's just kind of like, I don't know what type of message you're going to be sending to the locker room. You know what I mean? That's a tough trade to make if you're going to do that. Because I know I've heard that. I've heard people say trade Waller and then sign Jacobs to an extension, use that money to sign, and then use the money to also address the defense. And I'm just like, oh, it's a shrewd move, but oh man, I don't know, man. You got to think about the team aspect, the chemistry of the team. That's where you got to look beyond the numbers and football. You got to think about like, all right, how's this going to affect the team? Okay, you guys are talking about money grab. Let me.
Austin Martinez makes a good point. He says if Davante Adams is suspended, everyone is going to be looking at Waller to step up. If Davante Adams gets suspended, I'm going to be curious to see who steps up on this offense when it comes to a receiving core. And here's another situation. What if Davante Adams misses games and the Raiders win football games? Because they're spreading the football around. Like, could you see a situation to where this team has, we kind of talked about it before, this team has so many ingredients that they're overcomplicating a simple dish. So there's so many things in the cupboard that's there to use. Like, and I'm not saying like getting rid of Devon, none of that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like, could you see a situation where this Raiders offense has an identity through Josh Jacobs and maybe that rapport through Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow? Maybe you can kind of find something there. And I'm just speaking hypothetically. I'm not saying that this is going to happen.
Man, it's a tough situation because like Josh Jacobs is clearly the second best player on offense.
Right. Arguably, you could say he is the best one right now. I mean, I like Devante. Like Devante is talent wise, he's the best player on the offensive side of the football. As far as right now, who has the hot hand?
Yeah, it's Josh Jacobs, but the best player on the team, I would say, is Davante Adams, because he's you know what I mean. Just don't let this fool you. Don't let the offensive struggle fool you. Davante Adams is that guy. Like he is arguably number one at his position, and he's been dominant for the last few years. Best player at his position for a while. That being said, yes, Josh Jacobs, he's playing the best football of his career right now. He's the hot hand. He's carrying that offense. Props to him, but it's a tough situation though. You know what I mean? It's a tough situation. If Josh Jacobs at the end of the year, do you let him walk? I know we kind of addressed this, but like, damn, like that's a tough situation to be in.
Say he puts this up, say consistently over the course of the entire season, and say you lose him to free agency, like bro, that's a big hit to this offense. And I know that we're so easy to go out there and say like, oh, the running back is an easy replacement for an offense. I would agree when you're talking about those ranges from like, 10 like the 10th best running back and below. But when you start getting in those top 5 type of running backs, like the Derrick Henrys of the world, the Alvin Kamaras of the world, like those guys are just different. Like it's not, they're definitely replaceable, but it's a lot harder to replace them with a guy that's that efficient.
Yeah.
Like I don't see Zamir White coming close to the production that Josh Jacobs is having.
Nope.
Like,
Not
I'm being
at all.
honest.
When I see Zamir White, and I forgot someone made this assessment before me even getting into Zamir White and watching his game, his film, and they were saying that for Zamir White to be an effective player, he needs to have great blocking. And then when you watch him run, you can see it. You can see how he runs upright. He's not really a shifty type of player. So he needs, not to say that he doesn't have any talent. There's nothing wrong with needing to be a productive player to have good blocking. But at the same time, he's not going to make nothing out of something
Josh's
or
vision is
something
what
out of nothing.
separates him. His vision, like especially this season, like behind the line of scrimmage, his ability to
Great
create
tackles.
to break tackles, to create new running lanes. Like do that run against the Broncos where it could have been a 3-yard loss behind the line of
Ooh,
scrimmage.
the spin
He hit
move.
the spin
Oh,
move. They grabbed the jersey, tear his jersey. He's making moves in the second level. Like, bro, that is elite. Like that's
yeah,
God-given talent, bro. That's not coaching. That's nothing. That's a player having God-given abilities, making plays. And right now, dude, Zamir White isn't on that level. Like,
yeah,
not even close.
yeah. Austin Martinez says, to Pharaoh's point, if we trade Waller after an injury-riddled season, it sends a bad message to the rest of the team. Now the whole team plays scared because they're thinking yeah, man, like, hey, football, hey, it's not like Madden. We can't just like trade players whenever we want to. You're dealing with people. And one of the to be honest with you, one of the reasons why Josh McDaniels failed as a head coach the first time around was because he rubbed Jay Cutler the wrong way, traded him away, rubbed the team the wrong way, and obviously he traded away Brandon Marshall, and he didn't know how to deal with people. So I don't think it's going to be in Josh McDaniels, benefit to go ahead and do something like that. Because right now, like to Ray's point, the whole offense is struggling, or the whole I want to say struggling, but they're still figuring out because right now they are getting better. They're getting better each game, every game.
It's not a situation where you circle one player. Like you can't just go and say, "Hey, this is Derek Carr's fault. Hey, this is Davante's fault. Hey, this is," you know what I'm trying to say. And even if you want to go to the offensive line situation, like if you're circling the right tackle position, do you guys feel the same exact way? Like when you watch Jermaine Illuminor or you watch Theron Mumford go in there, do you feel the same way that you felt when Brandon Parker was going in the game or Alex Leatherwood was in the lineup? I know personally I don't. I really don't. Now, does he commit penalties? Does Jermaine Illuminor commit penalties? Yes, that's a fact. But as far as pass protection, as far as run blocking ability, I feel better about this offensive line than what I did having Alex Leatherwood at right tackle or Brandon Parker sitting in there.
Yeah. As hard as I've been on them as far as the right tackle, the revolving door they had at right tackle where they're switching players. I mean, they literally switched Parham from right guard to left guard.
To
But that
center.
being said, the O-line's playing well.
They're all right. Like they're middle of the pack. Like they're
It's
okay.
night and day from last year.
It
Night
is.
and day.
That's why, like, bro. That's why this, like I was saying, like you can't just circle one guy. This is a collective unit that they're collectively struggling as a 11-man unit, right? They're not all on the same page. That's where the issue is.
BL says no way he gets suspended. The tunnel tunnel rat tunnel rat. I don't know if you meant that on purpose. Tunnel rat ran right in front of him holding a big blunt object. You know what, BL? The reason why I think that he could get possibly suspended, I don't want him to get suspended. Hell no. I don't think he deserves to be suspended. I think that the charges kind of change everything. Like if he gets charged, the way the NFL moves is when a player gets charged and
Then
hopefully
he's
he
gonna get
gets dropped.
suspended.
Yeah, hopefully he gets dropped. But if he gets charged and they find him,
Here's the
if they
thing. I could see.
settle in court or something, the NFL can now move in and say like, okay, look what you did here. We're gonna have to like move in and do something about it. But
And
if
how do I want to say this? Could you see the NFL making an example of Davante? That's where I get the feeling where he could actually face a suspension. Maybe
But
it's a
then
little bit,
the argument is that the NFL should have did a better job of clearing the tunnel. You know what I mean? And
but does that hold up? You know what I mean? Like, does it hold up? Like, yeah, the fans are going to say that, but just like the NFL came out today with a report that they're not going to address the roughing the passer calls. Like, if anything, they're doubling down. So it's like the NFL's got their ways. So like, if they suspend him, who is above the league that's going to be like, no, like you shouldn't suspend Devante? ultimately it's the league's hand. That's the problem. Like the league has final say over the Davante Adams situation. If they want, they could be like, "Hey, Davante, for 2 games, you're not playing against the Texans and whoever we play, the Saints after that."
Raider Room says Tate, 29 receptions, 414 yards, 5 touchdowns. It's crazy that we're talking about the offense, how it's still developing, it's still not there. But Davante Adams is like tied for second in the league in touchdowns, and
And Josh
Austin
Jacobs
Martinez
third.
and third in the league in rushing. Austin Martinez says damn Tay is on track to have 1,600 yards, 20 touchdowns. Whoo,
Bro.
you know what I'm saying? And we're not even
they're not clicking on all cylinders by any
at all. I'm
No.
watching a game and I don't know if you guys remember this. I think it was in the fourth quarter. Derek Carr throws at Davante Adams and Davante Adams is blocking a receiver. You know, things that like that don't happen when everybody's on the same page. But imagine when players on the same page. Imagine when Derek Carr throws the ball, Davante looks up, the ball's on him, boom. Because he knows that he's gonna go, bro. If
they figure this offense out, I'm telling you, like later in the season, when this offense starts clicking, like bro, they're gonna put up some ridiculous numbers. Like they're gonna do some special stuff on offense.
Facts. Salute, Queen. Appreciate you pulling up. Let's see. Jack says, well, say that a lot. We can say there's a lot on McDaniels. What do you mean by that? Do you remember what he's referring to?
No, I don't. I think he's probably addressing somebody in the chat.
Jacobs, Allen, and Jackson are the only Raider running backs with at least 140 yards in back-to-back games. Yeah, man. He's cementing himself up there because he's been pretty consistent. He's been getting, 1,000 yards every season. I think last season he broke that streak. He went under 1,000. He was hurt. You know, he was kind of struggling until he picked it up. If you think about it, Josh Jacobs was the reason why we went to the playoffs on offense because he was carrying that offense. Because the passing offense wasn't there because we lost, obviously, Henry Ruggs. And then, Waller was out. So we had to lean heavy on Josh Jacobs. And then Zay Jones and Deshaun Jackson. The rest is history. But, yeah, Josh Jacobs, man, he's going on me. I know people want him to stay, but I'm not sure if they're going to make that move, though. I'm not sure if they're going to make that move. It's going to be tough.
He deserves to stay.
He deserves it.
He's a really good running back. He deserves all the money in the world. I just don't see it, right? I just, and it's unfortunate, right? I love seeing Josh Jacobs in the silver and black. I had that take at the beginning.
I hope he gets paid, though. I hope he deserves it.
He's going to test the market, bro. Like, why wouldn't he? He's a running back. He's at a position that they're going to have to get. He's going to get every penny that he needs right now.
Austin Martinez says, I have a what-if scenario. What if we had Gruden head coach, Graham DC, McDaniels OC? That's a wrap. But this ain't fantasy football. You were talking about this before. This is before the show started. You were talking about how if we had the same players with Gruden off, in my opinion, I don't like Gruden. I don't really like Gruden because Gruden would never. His ego's too big. He wants to be the play caller.
No, but doesn't all the offensive guys, right? Like Josh McDaniels has his ego's just different than Gruden's. He has an aura about him that he knows he's running the team. Like I feel that from Josh McDaniels. He just presents it in a different way. What I liked about John Gruden's offense, specifically just this, I'm not talking about the predictive play calling, the conservativeness, take all that out the window. His ability to scheme guys open. Like if he's able to get Zay Jones $10 million a year, if he's able to sign a Deshaun Jackson and spread the field, signing him 1 week, right? John does a really good job of getting guys schematically put in place. Now I'm imagining with him having the chemistry with Darren Waller, those consecutive years, the Hunter Renfrows, knowing how to get Hunter Renfrow in positions to succeed. You throw in a Davante Adams, which John Gruden was a huge X's and O's guys when it comes to matchups. Like if you're taking Davante, look, Hunter Renfrow is going to get the ball 14 times that game. Like Darren Waller is going to get targeted 17 times that game if you're putting the coverage that way. We're not necessarily seeing that in McDaniel's offense. It's just kind of like we're just now over the last 2 weeks finding an identity for the offense. And honestly, it's not even through the receivers. It's through the running game.
Facts.
Something because that Gruden already had established.
And that goes back to our point is how the offense, the passing game is still developing, and you still have Davante Adams like on pace to get so many. Like he's second in the league in touchdowns right now. and it's crazy to even say that. But that being said, ML says hopefully it gets settled quickly if they suspend him at the end of the year because of this. It's whew, that's a good point too. If it's drawn out,
Mm.
I don't think it's going to be drawn out though. I think it's going to be quick and painless. They're going to figure it out. But if it's drawn out and they suspend him, that's such an NFL move against the Raiders.
Look, bro, I'm going to tell you my gut. I think he's suspended for a game.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't think he's gonna be in the Texans game.
It's too much. It's too much attention. They're talking about it way too much.
I know. And typically when this happens, the league steps in and they do what they do.
I have seen stats of DA's games last year, and they're up to par with this year at this point. Yeah. And the reason why like we're over analyzing everything right now is because we're 1-4. We're 1-4, and we're looking at every little thing. But as far as production wise, the players have been productive. It's just that we haven't been able to finish games. We're up 20 points against Arizona, and let's talk about that. Let's look back, like before we close out the show. Like let's talk about what we've seen so far, because a quarter of the season has passed. Like it's been like what 5 games, 5-6 games now, and we haven't had a chance to look back. Like what would you say was the worst loss of the year? I mean, I probably mentioned it already, but
yeah, for me personally, it's a Kansas City Chiefs loss. Just not only did he lose the game, the officiating, the momentum going into the game, I really felt like we had a chance to kind of shift momentum in the AFC West. And then you have a Davante Adams situation. You've got all these conspiracies about how the game went. It's just like it's such a crucial point at 1-3 before going into the bye. If the Raiders could have knocked off the Chiefs and gone 2-3 and then had this game, like had that momentum of beating the Chiefs, then hitting a bye week, getting healthy, and then going into this stretch, I think it would have just benefited this Raiders team. So for me personally, I felt like the Chiefs loss hurt worse and was the worst loss just because I feel like this team has gotten better. And I felt like if this locker room could have tasted a win against the Chiefs, I feel like it could have really benefited this team moving forward.
I agree. I agree. We should have won that game, but I wasn't as frustrated or mad as everybody else was. I was like, man,
it was a different type of frustration for me.
Yeah, it was like, man, like we just went up against the best team in the league, and we hung in there, and we had a chance to win, and we actually outcoached them. If you think about it, we like, McDaniels played chess, and he almost won. He literally almost won, because if Davante Adams catches the ball, we kick the field goal, we win the game. No one's talking about nothing about Josh McDaniels should have went for 2. No one would be talking about that. I think, in my opinion, the worst loss, hands down.
Matter of fact, they would have been praising him. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%. And that's how the media works. But I think the worst loss, in my opinion, it has to be the Cardinals. Jack just said it right now. Cardinals, 100%. 20-0 at halftime.
Yeah,
I know that's the obvious one, but come on, man. There's
I think when you're
hurts.
When you're talking about, like, if you're talking about what is the worst loss based on visually how the team looked, it was the Cardinals game. Yeah. When I talk about what the worst loss is for me particular, it was the stakes, the momentum, everything going into the game that was on the line. Like, I feel like the Chiefs game just had more weight. Like, everybody picked the Chiefs to win, like not only win, but dominate. Like, there was just so much going into that game to where the Cardinals game was kind of like we didn't necessarily know. Like, we were confident that the Raiders could go out there and beat the Cardinals, and we were pretty evident on that on our preview show. But when they blew it, it just felt like, yeah, the Raiders aren't there yet. But this Chiefs game, it felt like, all right, the Raiders got their first win. They're kind of getting an identity. They can go into Arrowhead and really create some momentum going into the bye week. They're just 2 completely different games, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to flip it now, like the Raiders are headed to the bye week. What do you think? What do you think the Raiders could benefit and actually improve on from the bye week? Like what are a few things that come to mind? Now we have a bye week. We just lost against Kansas City. I know you mentioned that we got a schedule coming up, but what can they get better during the bye week? What realistically, when a bye week happens, what can a team really do? Because they're, at the end of the day, like it's a couple weeks. They're not going to really change the offense
No,
too much or defense. It's going to be the same defense, it's going to be same offense, but what can they actually get better at?
I think you take this time to identify over the first 5 games what you did well. I think you really assess and see what plays, what systems, what personnels have worked for you over the first 5 games, and I think you start to emphasize your identity off of those things and stop trying to do things that haven't been working out. I think you take this time to really sit and look at what type of team you are. Now you have a break. I think you really take a really long look in the mirror and say, like, hey, what is our long-term goals for this season? Okay. And then I think you sit the football team down and I think you take a look at that schedule. And I think that you say, look, everything that we still want is there. If we can get healthy, okay, Auntie Six just said it. If we can get healthy and you take a look at the schedule, everything you want is still out there for reach. Like, now is not the time to give in. Like, you've tasted what it's like to lose. Now let's go out there and learn how to win. And I think you take these next 6 games and come together as a team and figure out how to win together, and then go into that last stretch of the season playing your best football and see if you can't punch yourself a ticket.
Facts, 100%. And ONT6, he took the words out of my mouth. Literally, get healthy. I mean, Averett is scheduled. He could come back during the Texans game. Obviously, with Hobbs getting hurt, hopefully he's able to still play. Dude's an ultimate tough guy. Hopefully we can get Waller to get healthy. There's a lot of players that can come back and contribute to this team. I think health is number one, and also McDaniels needs to reevaluate how he's going to coach this team moving forward. What are the good things? What are the good things that they did? What are the bad things that they did? Obviously, as much as I'm for McDaniels last game, I didn't think he did a bad job. I thought like the first 2 games, he didn't make a lot of mistakes. The coaching staff, I wasn't impressed with them the first few games. The game plans, the fact that we didn't run the ball against, both Arizona and Chargers. We lost some winnable games early on, and it could come back to Hana's during the season because we don't have room for error as far as losing games, because it's going to be a tough division race, including a playoff race. But I think that it came at a good time. We just came off a tough loss, but I think their spirits are up. You got guys like the league knows. The league knows, man. Like, I was watching a clip today, and I know Raider Nation, y'all love football and y'all up on everything. But if y'all haven't seen it, Stephon Diggs and Von Miller were sitting down and they were talking about the Raiders, and the way they were talking about the Raiders, they had a lot of respect for them. Stephon Diggs was talking about how, like, Raiders are one of those teams you can't look at their record. You know what I mean? They're a really good team, and I think the Raiders, even though they're 1-4, their spirits are up. They know that they got the talent to win games. They just got to put it together. They need to put 60 minutes together, and they've done that in spurts. I mean, I guess the Broncos game, you could say they put 60 minutes together, but they need to go on. They need to go on a winning streak. Let's keep it real.
I think you can sense that too with how frustrated they were after that Kansas City loss. Like,
Yeah,
they know that
they felt like they're gonna win. They
right.
felt like
They know they're a good team. Like, it's evident. Like I had people even calling me who are not Raider fans by any means, and they were calling me after the game, and they were like, because if you're not a Raiders fan, this is the first time they've really had a primetime game, and so a lot of the nation got to put their eyes on the Raiders team. And so they were calling me and they were like, look, dude, like, the Raiders are a good football team. Like, their record is not, like, obviously you are what your record is, right? And I agree with that. However, there is a lot of there's a lot of things going into that final record. So, and they were saying, like, look, the Raiders are a lot better than their 1-4 record. Like, it's not a reflection of how talented the team is. It's a reflection of the lack of discipline and execution to finish a full football game.
Austin Martinez, I love this. Red zone on both sides of the ball needs to be focused. Facts, 100%.
Yeah.
They need to do a better job there. It's still an issue with Gruden. It doesn't matter. Gruden, McDaniels, they need to. Hey, in my eyes, the best red zone play is handed to Josh Jacobs.
Right.
Let's be real. Like, that's the best red zone play the Raiders have right now, and that's not a bad thing. But the second best play is Davante Adams. We just mentioned that
that's something like. Do you remember? I think it was the Cardinals game, or it might have been the Chargers game, where they get Davante Adams in motion, and it's almost like he's in motion, and they hike the ball and they throw him like a quick slant, And we've seen it a lot last season. It was a really popular play. I don't understand why we can't get more creative like that. It's like
Yeah.
our creativity over the last however many seasons it's been, it feels like once we get down into the red zone, it's like we get so vanilla. Like
Yeah.
it's either a short pass to the tight end or it's a fade ball to the outside. Like it becomes so predictable. I'm like, where's this creativity? Like, where's this scheming, guys? Where is it? Do you remember when like Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper, and then we would flex Amari, or we would flex like Michael Crabtree out wide, and it's like single coverage on the outside, and you knew the football was going to a fade ball to Michael Crabtree, but it was schemed up to the fact like it's one-on-one. Like it's going to be a one-on-one 50-50 option. I just don't see that anymore. Like I don't. I see like them forcing the ball into windows that they really shouldn't be doing. They almost make it too hard on themselves.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's crazy that it's with two different coaching staffs, especially Josh McDaniels' coaching staff, where they've proven over with different teams that they're able to get the job done in red zone. And now it's just a mentality thing. I think it's just part of the growing pains of learning this offense. And and we got to put it on Derek Carr too. At the end of the day, he's the constant denominator here. He's been part of the teams that's been struggling in the red zone. He needs to make those tight windows. He needs to cut it loose. I don't want him to throw any. I don't want to make him any turnovers. That's the last thing I want him to do. But at the end of the day, like you got Davante Adams, you got Darren Waller, you got I'll throw in Mac Hollins in there. Dude's like 6'5", 6'6" over there. You got Moreau, even though he's been
Dude, that end
injured last
zone
couple
ball,
games.
just in this Chiefs game, that end zone ball,
Ooh,
where
I thought he had it.
I thought he had that.
I thought he had it,
Like that was nasty, bro.
bro. His ball skills, like man,
He's good, bro. He's good.
He's definitely a good addition to this team. But yeah, man, we're getting close to that time, and I appreciate everybody pulling up, man. Like, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe. We always love talking football. I wish we can go a little bit longer, but I know it's getting close on time for Raider Ray and then myself. It's been a long day, man. We were trying to go Tuesdays when we usually go live, so we were trying to make it happen. But the Monday night football game, everything else that we got going on outside of football and YouTube, it caught up to us. But we appreciate everybody coming through. And like I said, make sure to subscribe to both our channels because we do a weekly show. This week's on my channel. Next week's going to be on Raider Ray. We love talking football. It's going to be a bye week. Hey, man, it's a lot to look forward to. We know, hey, Raider fans, we know you guys love the team. Keep watching. I know y'all going to keep watching. I've been watching for years, and they've disappointed me too.
They've been garbage.
Yeah, they've been garbage, but this feels a little bit different. I just feel like, man, they're close. They're close, man. And I like I said, I appreciate everybody coming through. If I haven't get into your messages, make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. You know what I mean? Is the season over? Is Josh McDaniel the coach moving forward? Derek Carr, does he need to go? Let me know. Like, hey, man, I'm very responsive in the comments. I'm very responsive. But like I said, I appreciate everybody coming through. But on that note, man, till next time. Do you have any last thoughts, Ray, before I
Yeah, let me just finish with this. Look, Nation, I know it's 1-4. It's been a ridiculous start to the season, right? None of us really expected to be in this situation. But look, let's not throw in the towel just yet. Like we're in this for the 12-round dogfight. We've shown that we can compete with absolutely everybody. The schedule's starting to get easier. If the Raiders can go on a run here, which I really do predict them to go on a run, we've been open and honest of all the games that the Raiders could lose. And we've been pretty accurate in that. And I would say I really do have a feeling that the Raiders could go on a serious run here and get right back into that mix. So Raider Nation, now's not the time. We've come too far and too committed to the silver and black, to the shield. And as our great late owner, man, he said, he's like, once you get great coaches and then once you get great players, you tell them one thing, just win, baby.
Facts. And another thing too, you want to go live again on your channel this week?
Yeah,
let's figure it out, man.
By the way, we got monetized too, by the way. So
yeah, hey, congratulations again, man. Hey,
that.
Raider Ray, he recently got to that big number, that 1K that I'm trying to get to as well, and he just got monetized. So that's a very big thing for him. All his hard work, it paid off, and salute to you, man. Congratulations, and make sure to like I said, make sure to sub to both our channels, so we can keep coming back. And I think we should have another show. We should have another show this week.
No, we will. We got to carry it. We got some momentum going, so we'll do it. We'll give the nation some content.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Just be on the lookout. If y'all haven't, just follow me on social media. Follow Raider Ray on social media. we'll make the announcement. But we'll have another show this week though. But till next time, Raider Nation, peace.
Great Pharaoh, the gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.